The grand chandelier of the Moretti Estates dining hall cast golden light across the assembled guests, illuminating the faces of the city's most powerful families. I stood at the top of the staircase, hidden in the shadows, my heart hammering against my ribs as I smoothed my hands down the red silk dress one final time. This was it. The moment everything would change. The dress clung to every curve of my body like it had been painted on, the deep crimson silk practically glowing against my olive skin. The back dipped so low it was almost scandalous, exposing the entire length of my spine down to just above my waist. The front was more modest, but the way the fabric draped made it somehow more provocative, suggesting rather than revealing. I'd spent 3 hours getting ready for this dinner. My dark hair fell in loose waves down my back. My makeup was dramatic, smoky eyes and red lips that matched the dress perfectly. My mother's diamond earrings caught the light with every slight movement of my head. I looked like sin wrapped in silk. And I was about to walk into a room full of mafiosos, and their families looking like this. More importantly, I was about to walk into a room where Dante Ferraro would see me like this. Taking a deep breath, I began my descent down the sweeping staircase. The click of my black stilettos against marble echoed through the hall, and one by one, conversations died as heads turned to watch me. But I only had eyes for one man. Dante stood near my father's side, a glass of whiskey in his hand, his tall frame encased in a charcoal suit that emphasized his broad shoulders and lean waist. His dark hair was swept back from his handsome face, and those storm-gray eyes that haunted my dreams were fixed on someone across the room. Until they weren't. The moment his gaze found me on the staircase, everything stopped. The glass in his hand froze halfway to his lips. His entire body went rigid, muscles tensing beneath the expensive fabric of his suit. I watched, satisfaction curling through me, as his eyes traveled over me with agonizing slowness, starting at my heels and moving up, lingering on the curve of my hips, the dip of my waist, the swell of my breasts beneath red silk. When his eyes finally met mine, they were black with desire, pupils blown wide, and his jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscle ticking beneath his skin. His knuckles had gone white around his whiskey glass. I'd imagined this moment 1,000 times, but the reality was so much better. Dante Ferraro, the man who'd spent 13 years treating me like his little sister, looked at me like he wanted to devour me, like he wanted to throw me over his shoulder, carry me out of this room, and never let anyone else look at me again. I descended the remaining steps slowly, deliberately, letting him watch, letting everyone watch. By the time I reached the bottom, the entire room had gone silent. Aurora. My father's voice broke the spell. Don Enzo Moretti moved toward me, pride and something else, concern, flickering across his weathered face. You look beautiful, cara mia. Stunning. Thank you, Papa. I kissed his cheek, hyper-aware of Dante's burning gaze on my exposed back. Perhaps too stunning, my father added quietly, though there was amusement in his tone. That dress is quite bold. Is it? I asked innocently. I thought it was appropriate for such an important evening. Before he could respond, Dante appeared at my side. Up close, I could see the tension radiating from him, could smell his cologne, that masculine scent that made my head spin. His hand landed on my lower back, right where silk met bare skin, and I felt him tense at the contact. We need to talk, he said, his voice rough. Now. Later, my father interrupted, checking his watch. It's time for the announcement. Aurora, come stand with me. My stomach dropped. Announcement? Yes, of course. Don Enzo smiled, gesturing for the room's attention. That's why everyone is here tonight, isn't it? Dread pooled in my stomach as my father guided me to stand before the assembled families. Dante remained close, his presence like a storm at my back. Thank you all for joining us this evening, my father began, his voice carrying authority that commanded instant silence. As you know, The strength of our world depends on the bonds between families, on loyalty, honor, and strategic alliances. No. Please. No. Not tonight. Not like this. It is with great pleasure that I announce the engagement of my daughter, Aurora Moretti, to Luca Montero, son of the Montero family. The room erupted in applause. I stood frozen, the sound washing over me like waves. This couldn't be happening. Not now. Not when I'd just seen that look in Dante's eyes. That hunger he could no longer hide. Luca materialized from somewhere in the crowd, handsome and smiling, completely unaware that my world was shattering. He took my hand, kissed my knuckles, and I felt nothing. Nothing except the heat of Dante's gaze burning into my back. Aurora and Luca will be married in 6 months, my father continued. The union will strengthen both our families and secure our position in the Northern Territories. 6 months. I had 6 months before I became the wife of a man I didn't love. 6 months before any possibility of a future with Dante died completely. I forced myself to smile as Luca's arm came around my waist, the waist Dante's hand had just been touching. Forced myself to accept congratulations from people whose names I could barely remember through the roaring in my ears, and through it all, I felt Dante's eyes on me. When I finally dared to glance in his direction, what I saw made my breath catch. He looked murderous. His hands were clenched into fists at his sides, his jaw so tight it had to hurt, his gray eyes blazing with barely controlled fury. He was staring at Luca's arm around my waist like he was contemplating exactly how to break it. "Congratulations, brother," Luca said, moving to shake Dante's hand. Dante stared at the offered hand for a long moment before accepting it, his grip probably crushing from the way Luca's smile faltered. "She's 19, Dante said, his voice dangerously quiet. "She's too young for this." "She's of age," Luca replied, recovering his composure. "And quite mature for 19, wouldn't you say?" His eyes traveled over me appreciatively, and I saw Dante's control slip another notch. "I think," my father interjected smoothly, sensing the tension, "we should all toast to the happy couple." "Dante, perhaps you'd like to say a few words? You've known Aurora longer than anyone here." The cruelty of that request hung in the air. Dante was being asked to celebrate my engagement to another man, to give his blessing to the union that would take me away from him forever. "Of course," Dante said, his voice like gravel. A server appeared with a fresh glass of whiskey, which he accepted without taking his eyes off me. "To Aurora," he paused, and the silence stretched. Everyone waited for him to continue, to offer the traditional well wishes for a long and happy marriage. Instead, he raised his glass, his gray eyes boring into mine with such intensity I could barely breathe. "To the most beautiful woman in any room, the strongest person I know, the one who," his voice caught, almost imperceptibly, "the one who deserves everything good in this world." It wasn't a blessing, it was a confession disguised as a toast. "And to Luca," he continued, his gaze shifting to my future husband, his expression going cold. "Who better treat her like the queen she is? Because if he doesn't, he'll answer to me." The threat was barely veiled. Several people in the room shifted uncomfortably, recognizing the dangerous undercurrent in Dante's words. "I'll take excellent care of her," Luca replied, either brave or foolish, pulling me closer against his side. "You have my word." "Your word," Dante repeated, something dark and vicious flashing in his eyes. "Right." He downed his whiskey in one swallow, set the glass down with controlled force, and walked out of the dining hall without another word. The room buzzed with speculation. Antonio Russo, one of my father's oldest associates, leaned toward Don Enzo and murmured something I couldn't hear. My father's expression tightened. "Dante's very protective of Aurora," my father explained to the room, though I could hear the concern beneath his casual tone. "He's been like a brother to her since we brought him into the family. I'm sure he's just..." adjusting to the reality of her marriage. A brother. The word made me want to scream. "If you'll excuse me," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "I need some air." "I'll come with you," Luca offered immediately. "No." The word came out sharper than I intended. I softened it with a smile that felt like it might crack my face. "I just need a moment alone. Wedding planning is overwhelming." Before anyone could protest, I was moving toward the terrace doors, my heels clicking against marble. I could feel dozens of eyes on my back, on the expanse of bare skin the red dress revealed. But I didn't care. I needed to find Dante. I needed to know if that look in his eyes, that barely controlled rage, that toast that sounded more like a declaration of war than a blessing. I needed to know if it meant what I desperately hoped it meant. That maybe, just maybe, Dante Ferraro was finally ready to admit the truth we'd both been running from for years. That he didn't see me as his little sister, that he saw me as a woman, that he wanted me as much as I'd always wanted him, and that my engagement to Luca Montero had just forced him to confront feelings he'd been denying for far too long. I stepped onto the terrace, the cool night air a relief against my flushed skin. The garden stretched out before me, illuminated by strategic lighting, and somewhere in those shadows, I knew I'd find him. I'd always been able to find Dante, just like he'd always been able to find me. "Looking for me, Piccola?" I spun around. He stood in the doorway, backlit by the golden light from inside, his silhouette dark and dangerous. He'd loosened his tie, and there was something wild in his expression, something barely controlled. "You left," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I had to." He moved toward me, each step deliberate, before I did something unforgivable. "Like what?" He stopped in front of me, close enough that I could see his chest rising and falling with rapid breaths, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from his body. "Like telling everyone in that room that you're not marrying Luca Montero." His voice was rough, dangerous. "That you're mine, that you've always been mine, that the thought of another man touching you makes me want to commit murder." My heart stopped, then started again, racing. "Dante!" "That dress." His eyes traveled over me again, and I saw his hands clench into fists. "Do you have any idea what you're doing to me? Walking into a room full of people looking like that?" "I wore it for you," I admitted. "Only for you. Aurora." My name was a groan, a prayer, a curse. "You can't say things like that." "Why not? It's the truth." I stepped closer, emboldened by the desire I saw burning in his eyes. "I've loved you for as long as I can remember, Dante, and I know you feel it too. I see the way you look at me, the way your hands shake when we touch, the way you can't stand to see Luca near me." "Of course I can't stand it," he exploded, his control finally shattering. "Because you're mine, Aurora. You've been mine since the day I walked into this house 13 years ago. You've been mine since you looked at me with those big hazel eyes and made me want to be better. You've been mine since I realized that protecting you was the only thing that mattered in this world." "Then don't let me marry him," I pleaded, reaching for him. "Stop this. Tell my father I can't." The anguish in his voice broke my heart. "You don't understand. I owe your father everything. My life, my position, my very existence. And you're his daughter, his precious, innocent daughter who I'm supposed to protect, not..." He broke off, jaw clenching. "Not love?" I finished for him. "Not want, not need so desperately it's destroying you?" He stared at me, and I saw the exact moment his restraint snapped. "God damn it, Aurora." Then he was kissing me, his mouth crashing down on mine with 13 years of denied desire. His hands fisting in my hair, pulling me against him. I melted into him, into this kiss I'd been dreaming about for so long, tasting whiskey and desperation and promises neither of us could keep. When he finally pulled away, we were both breathing hard, his forehead resting against mine. "This changes nothing," he said, but his hands were still in my hair, still holding me close. "You're still engaged to Luca. You're still getting married in 6 months." "Then we have 6 months," I whispered. 6 months to be together, to finally stop pretending. "Aurora, please, Dante, don't make me marry him without ever knowing what we could have been." I watched the war rage across his face, duty versus desire, loyalty versus love. And when he kissed me again, softer this time, but no less devastating, I knew I'd won. At least for now. At least for the next 6 months. After that, all bets were off. The morning after the engagement announcement, I woke to sunlight streaming through my bedroom windows and the immediate, crushing weight of reality. I was engaged to Luca Montero. In 6 months, I would become his wife. And last night, on the terrace, I'd kissed Dante Ferraro like my life depended on it. I touched my lips, still able to feel the ghost of his mouth on mine, the desperate way he'd held me, the groan that had rumbled through his chest when I'd kissed him back. It had been everything I'd ever dreamed of, and nothing like I'd imagined, all at once. Because dreams didn't come with the bitter taste of impossibility. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. 3 messages from Luca, sweet and attentive, asking about my day, telling me how beautiful I'd looked last night, how lucky he felt to be marrying me. I stared at the words, feeling nothing but guilt. He was a good man. He didn't deserve this. A fiancé who was in love with someone else. A soft knock interrupted my spiraling thoughts. "Come in," I called, expecting Maria with breakfast. Instead, Dante filled my doorway. I sat up abruptly, clutching the silk sheets to my chest, even though I was wearing a perfectly modest nightgown. There was something intimate about him seeing me like this, hair tangled from sleep, face bare of makeup, in the private sanctuary of my bedroom. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my voice still rough with sleep. "We need to talk." He closed the door behind him, and my breath caught. We'd never been alone in my bedroom before, never crossed this particular line. "About last night," I started, but he held up a hand. "Last night was a mistake." The words hit like a physical blow. I watched as he paced to my window, his back to me, shoulders rigid with tension. He'd already been up for hours, I could tell. Freshly showered, dressed in dark slacks and a white button-down, looking every inch the controlled, dangerous man who served as my father's right hand. "A mistake," I repeated flatly. "Yes." He turned to face me, and his expression was carefully blank. I lost control. I let my feelings cloud my judgment. "It won't happen again." "Your feelings." I threw back the covers and stood, ignoring the way his eyes tracked the movement, the way they lingered on my legs before he forced his gaze back to my face. "You mean the fact that you love me?" "I never said that." "You didn't have to. It was in every touch, every kiss, every word you said last night." I moved toward him, watching him tense as I approached. "You told everyone in that room that I was yours. I said you deserved to be treated like a queen. That's different." "Is it?" I stopped in front of him, close enough to feel the heat radiating from his body. "Then look me in the eyes and tell me you don't love me. Tell me last night meant nothing." His jaw clenched, and for a moment, I thought he might actually do it. Might lie convincingly enough that I'd have no choice but to believe him. But then his hand came up, cupping my face with such tenderness it made my eyes sting. "I can't," he admitted, his voice rough. "I can't lie to you, Aurora. Not about this." "Then don't push me away." "I have to." His thumb stroked across my cheekbone. "Last night, I let my jealousy, my possessiveness override my judgment. But in the cold light of day, nothing has changed. You're still Don Enzo's daughter. I'm still the man he took in. The man who owes him everything. And you're still engaged to Luca Montero. I don't want to be. What you want doesn't matter. The harshness of the words was belied by the gentle way he continued to touch my face. This is about family, about alliances, about duty. What about love? Love is a luxury people like us can't afford. He dropped his hand, stepping back. You need to marry Luca. You need to accept it and move forward. And I need to step back, maintain distance. Last night proved that I can't trust myself around you. Good, I said fiercely. I don't want you to trust yourself. I want you to lose control. I want you to stop being so damn noble and just admit what we both know, that this engagement is wrong, that I belong with you. You're 19 years old, Aurora. I'm 32. I've known you since you were 6. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration bleeding through his controlled facade. Do you understand how wrong this is? How many lines we'd be crossing? I don't care about lines. Well, I do. I have to. His eyes met mine, and I saw genuine anguish there. Your father trusts me with you. He sees me as a son, sees us as siblings. If he knew what I was feeling, what I was thinking every time I look at you. He shook his head. It would destroy him. And it would destroy me. So you'll just watch me marry someone else? Let Luca touch me, kiss me, take me to his bed? I was cruel now, deliberately twisting the knife. You'll stand at my wedding and smile while he claims me as his wife? The muscle in his jaw jumped. If I have to. Liar. I stepped closer again, refusing to let him retreat. You're already going insane, and it's only been one night. Imagine 6 months of this. Imagine watching him court me, seeing him fall in love with me, knowing he'll have rights to my body that you'll never have. Aurora, stop. His hands came up to grip my shoulders. Whether to push me away or pull me closer, I couldn't tell. Why? Does it hurt? Good. Because it's killing me, Dante. Every day, every moment I have to pretend I don't love you, it's killing me. You think this isn't killing me? His control cracked, his voice rising. You think I don't die a little every time I see him touch you? That I don't fantasize about breaking every bone in his body for daring to put his hands on what's mine? Then do something about it, I challenged. Stop him. Stop this engagement. Tell my father the truth. I can't betray him like that. So you'll betray me instead? Betray us? There is no us. But his hands tightened on my shoulders, betraying his words. There can't be. I stared up at him, at this man who'd been my protector, my constant, my secret love for so long, at the war raging in his storm-gray eyes, duty battling desire, loyalty fighting love. 6 months, I said quietly. I'm giving you 6 months to figure out what you really want, Dante. Whether you want to spend the rest of your life wondering what we could have been, or whether you're brave enough to fight for me, Aurora. But during those 6 months, I'm going to move forward with this engagement. I'm going to let Luca court me, get to know me, touch me. I watched his eyes darken dangerously. Because if you're not willing to claim me, someone else will. You're playing a dangerous game, Piccola. Then maybe you should stop me. I pulled away from his grip, moving toward my bathroom. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to get ready. Luca is taking me to brunch. I heard him inhale sharply. Brunch. Yes, and then shopping. He wants to buy me an engagement ring. I paused at the bathroom door, looking back at him, unless you have any objections. For a moment, I thought he might actually forbid it, might finally let his possessiveness override his noble intentions. But then his expression shuddered, and he was back to being the controlled, dutiful man I knew. No objections, he said, his voice carefully neutral. I hope you have a lovely time. He left without another word, closing the bedroom door behind him with careful control. I stood there for a long moment, staring at that closed door, feeling tears prick my eyes. This was going to destroy us both. But maybe, just maybe, it would destroy his resolve first. The brunch with Luca was everything it should have been. Elegant restaurant, beautiful food, charming conversation. He was attentive without being overbearing, respectful without being boring. He told me about his family's business, his hobbies, his dreams for our future together. And I smiled and nodded and felt absolutely nothing. "You're distracted," Luca observed, his hand covering mine on the table. "Is everything all right?" "Just overwhelmed," I lied smoothly. "The engagement, the wedding planning, it's a lot." "We can slow down if you need." His thumb stroked across my knuckles, a gesture that should have been soothing. "There's no rush." Except there was. 6 months. My father had been very clear about the timeline. "No, it's fine," I assured him. "I'm just adjusting." "To me?" He smiled, but there was genuine concern in his dark eyes. "Aurora, I want you to be happy. If I'm doing something wrong..." "You're perfect," I interrupted, and it was the truth. He was perfect, just not perfect for me. "Really, Luca, you're everything I could ask for in a husband. Everything except the man I actually wanted." We went shopping after brunch, visiting the kind of exclusive jewelry stores where they served champagne and knew your name before you walked through the door. Luca was particular about the ring, wanting something that matched my personality. Elegant, but with an edge, traditional, but unique. We finally settled on a stunning emerald-cut diamond, surrounded by smaller stones, set in platinum. It was beautiful, expensive, perfect. And I felt nothing when he slid it onto my finger. "It suits you," he said, lifting my hand to admire it. "My beautiful wife-to-be." The words made my stomach turn, but I forced another smile. "It's gorgeous. Thank you." My phone buzzed in my purse. I pulled it out to find a text from Dante. "How's your date going?" The question was casual, but I could read the tension behind it. I typed back, "Wonderful. Just picked out my engagement ring. Want to see?" I attached a photo of my hand, the massive diamond glittering in the jewelry store's lights. His response came immediately. "Congratulations." One word. Loaded with everything he couldn't say. Luca was distracted by the jeweler, discussing having the ring resized and engraved. I typed back, "He wants to engrave it with our wedding date. Make it permanent. Unless you can think of a reason I shouldn't." 3 dots appeared, indicating he was typing. Then disappeared. Then appeared again. Finally, "No reason. Engrave it." I stared at those words, feeling something crack in my chest. He was giving up, accepting this, letting me go without a fight. Fine, if that's how he wanted to play this. I took another photo, this one of Luca's arm around my waist as we left the jewelry store. Sent it to Dante without comment. His response was a single word. "Stop." I smiled grimly. "Stop what? Moving on with my life? Isn't that what you want?" "Aurora. My name, nothing else." But I could feel the warning in it, the barely controlled fury. "Luca wants to take me to dinner tonight. Somewhere romantic. Should I wear the red dress again?" He seemed to like it. The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times. When his response finally came, it was longer. "You're trying to make me jealous. It's working. But it doesn't change anything. You're still marrying him. I'm still stepping back. This is how it has to be." I stared at the message, anger and hurt warring inside me. How could he just give up? How could he claim to love me and still let this happen? "Then I guess I'll see you at the wedding," I typed back. "You can stand with my father and watch Luca claim what you were too cowardly to fight for." I hit send before I could reconsider, then turned off my phone. "Everything okay?" Luca asked as we walked to his car. Perfect, I lied. Everything's perfect. I did wear the red dress to dinner that night, and I let Luca hold my hand across the candlelit table, and when he leaned in to kiss me goodnight, a chaste, respectful kiss on my cheek, I didn't pull away. But the entire time, I was thinking of Dante, of the way his hands had felt in my hair, of the desperate hunger in his kiss, of the possessive growl in his voice when he'd said I was his. When I finally got home, it was late. The house was quiet, most of the lights dimmed. I slipped off my heels and padded through the marble halls toward my room. I was halfway there when a hand shot out from a darkened doorway, yanking me into what I belatedly realized was Dante's office. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he demanded, his voice a low snarl in the darkness. "Going to bed," I replied, my heart racing. "What are you doing lurking in your office with the lights off?" "Waiting for you to get home from your romantic dinner with your fiancé." He released me, moving to the window. Even in the dim light filtering through, I could see the tension in his shoulders. "Did you enjoy yourself?" "Very much." The lie came easily now. "Luca is wonderful company." "Is he?" Not a question. Dante's hands clenched into fists at his sides. "Yes, attentive, charming, respectful." I moved closer, emboldened by his jealousy. "He's everything you refused to be." He spun around so fast I barely registered the movement before he was in front of me, caging me against the door, his hands on either side of my head. "Refused to be?" His voice was dangerous, barely controlled. "You think I'm refusing anything? You think this is a choice?" "Isn't it?" I challenged, even as my breath caught at his proximity. "You're choosing duty over love, loyalty to my father over what you feel for me. Because that's what honor demands. Then maybe honor is overrated." He laughed, a harsh sound. "You're going to be the death of me, Aurora Moretti." "Then at least we'll die together," I whispered. For a long moment, we just stared at each other in the darkness. Then, slowly, deliberately, he lowered his head until his lips were a breath away from mine. 6 months, he said quietly. "You have 6 months until you marry Luca Montero. And during those 6 months, I'm going to make sure every moment he spends with you is torture for both of us." "What does that mean?" "It means I'm done pretending I don't care. Done standing aside like a good little brother." His hand came up to cup my face. "It means if he wants you, he's going to have to take you from me. And I won't make it easy." Before I could respond, he was kissing me. And this kiss was different from the one on the terrace. This was possession. Claiming. A promise and a threat wrapped in desperate need. When he finally pulled away, we were both breathing hard. "I can't give you a future," he said against my lips. "But I can give you these 6 months. Every stolen moment. Every forbidden touch. Every secret we keep from the world." "That's all I want," I whispered back. "Just you. Just this." "Then God help us both," he murmured, and kissed me again. The next 2 weeks fell into a dangerous rhythm. During the day, I played the role of dutiful fiancé, spending time with Luca, planning a wedding I had no intention of actually going through with. At night, I belonged to Dante in secret, stolen moments in darkened hallways, whispered conversations in hidden corners, kisses that grew more desperate with each passing day. It was unsustainable. We both knew it, but neither of us could stop. I was in my bedroom, getting ready for yet another date with Luca, when my phone buzzed with a text from Dante. "Library. Now." I glanced at the clock. Luca would be here in 30 minutes. But when Dante summoned me, I went. I found him standing by the window, backlit by the afternoon sun, tension radiating from every line of his body. He turned when I entered, and what I saw in his eyes made my breath catch. "What's wrong?" "I spoke with Luca today." His voice was carefully controlled. He mentioned he'd like to take you to his family's villa in Tuscany next month. For a week. My stomach dropped. He mentioned that at dinner last week. I haven't given him an answer yet. You should tell him no. On what grounds? I challenged. We're engaged. It's perfectly appropriate for us to spend time together. Alone. For a week. His hands clenched into fists. Do you have any idea what he's expecting to happen on that trip, Aurora? Heat flooded my face. I'm not naive, Dante. Then you know he'll try to seduce you, to claim what he thinks is his right as your future husband. He moved toward me, predatory and dangerous. And what will you do when he does? I don't know, I admitted honestly. I'm supposed to marry him in 4 months. At some point. No. The word was absolute. You don't get to finish that sentence. You don't get to talk about being with him like it's inevitable. It is inevitable. Unless you're finally ready to do something about it. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he crossed the room, grabbed my hand, and pulled me toward the door. Where are we going? I asked, stumbling after him in my heels. Somewhere we can talk without being interrupted. He led me through the house, down corridors I rarely used, to a wing that had been under renovation for months. The area was empty, quiet, isolated. He pulled me into what would eventually be a guest suite, but was currently just bare walls and drop cloths. The moment the door closed behind us, he was on me. The kiss was brutal, desperate, all pretense of control abandoned. His hands fisted in my hair, tilting my head back to deepen the kiss, and I melted into him, into this fire that had been building between us for weeks. Tell me you haven't let him touch you, he demanded against my lips. Tell me you're still mine. I'm yours, I gasped as his mouth moved to my throat. Always yours, Dante. I can't do this anymore. His hands were everywhere, sliding down my sides, gripping my waist, pulling me harder against him. I can't watch him court you. Can't stand the thought of his hands on you. Can't. He broke off, resting his forehead against mine, both of us breathing hard. Then stop it, I pleaded. Talk to my father. Tell him the truth. He'll never forgive me. Never accept this. You don't know that. Yes, I do. He pulled back to look at me, and I saw genuine anguish in his eyes. Aurora, when your father found me, I was 12 years old and half feral with grief and rage. I'd just watched my entire family slaughtered by a rival organization. I wanted to die. Would have died if Don Enzo hadn't taken me in, given me purpose, made me part of his family. I knew this story, but I'd never heard him tell it with such raw emotion. He saved my life, Dante continued. Trained me, trusted me with his most important operations, made me his right hand, and the entire time, he treated me like a son, called me family. That's not something I take lightly, I understand that. But you were 6 years old when I came here. 6. I watched you grow up, Aurora. I was there for your first day of school, your first heartbreak, your first everything. Your father trusted me to protect you, to be your brother. And now I'm... He broke off, jaw clenching. In love with me, I finished softly. You're in love with me, and you think that makes you a monster. Doesn't it? His laugh was bitter. What kind of man falls in love with the child he helped raise? The kind of man who sees me as a woman now, not a child. The kind who fought these feelings for years before finally admitting them. I cupped his face, forcing him to look at me. Dante, you're not a monster. You're the best man I know. I'm a criminal. I've killed people, Aurora. I've done things that would make you sick if you knew the details. I don't care. You should. But his hands came up to cover mine, holding them against his face. You should run from me as fast as you can. I've spent my whole life running toward you, I whispered. I'm not about to stop now. He kissed me again, softer this time but no less intense. When he pulled away, there was resignation in his eyes. "I need to tell you something," he said quietly, "about why your father arranged this marriage." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "The Montero alliance isn't just about territory. It's about protection." He moved to the window, looking out over the grounds. "There's another family, the Castellanos. They've been trying to move into our territory for years. The marriage to Luca was supposed to strengthen our position, give us the resources to push back. So, I'm a bargaining chip. Your leverage. And if I interfere with this marriage, I'm not just betraying your father's trust. I'm putting the entire family at risk." I stared at his back, feeling the full weight of our situation crash down. "So, what are you saying? That we can never be together?" "I'm saying that the stakes are higher than just our feelings." He turned to face me. "If this marriage doesn't happen, people could die. The family could be destroyed. Everything your father has built could crumble. And if it does happen, if I marry Luca?" My voice broke. "What then?" "Then we learn to live with it." But his expression said he had no idea how. A noise in the hallway made us both freeze. Footsteps approaching, then passing by. We waited in tense silence until they faded. "Luca will be here soon," I said, checking my phone. "I need to go." "Aurora, wait." He caught my hand as I moved toward the door. "About Tuscany. Please don't go. Give me a reason not to. Because I'll lose my mind if you spend a week alone with him. Because I won't be able to protect you if you're in another country. Because..." He stopped, jaw clenching. "Because what, Dante?" "Because if you come back from that trip belonging to him in every way, I don't think I'll survive it." The raw honesty in his voice broke something open in my chest. "Then give me something to come back to. Give me hope that this isn't all for nothing." "I can't promise you anything." "Then I can't promise I won't go to Tuscany." We stared at each other, at an impasse neither of us knew how to cross. Finally, he released my hand. "You should go. Luca's waiting." I left him standing there in that empty room, looking more alone than I'd ever seen him. When I got to the front entrance, Luca was indeed waiting, handsome in casual slacks and a polo shirt, holding a bouquet of white roses. "You look beautiful," he said, kissing my cheek. "Ready for our dinner?" "Actually," I heard myself say, "I was thinking about your invitation to Tuscany." His eyes lit up. "Yes? I'd love to go." Even as the words left my mouth, I felt Dante's presence somewhere in the house. Felt his rage and despair and desperate possessiveness reach out to me like a living thing. But he'd made his choice. Duty over love. Family over us. Now I was making mine. The week leading up to my departure for Tuscany was pure hell. Dante avoided me during the day, conducting business that took him away from the estate more often than not. But at night, I'd find signs of his presence. A note slipped under my door. A text message at 3 a.m., once even his jacket draped over my bedroom chair when I came back from dinner with Luca. He was everywhere and nowhere, haunting me like a ghost. 3 days before I was supposed to leave, I woke to find him sitting in the chair by my window, still wearing yesterday's clothes, looking like he hadn't slept in days. "How did you get in here?" I asked, sitting up and clutching my sheets to my chest. "I've always had a key to your room," he said quietly. "Your father gave it to me years ago, for emergencies. And this is an emergency? You tell me." His gray eyes were shadowed, haunted. "You're leaving in 3 days to spend a week alone with a man who fully expects to take you to his bed. If that's not an emergency, I don't know what is." I threw back the covers and got out of bed, too angry to care that I was wearing only a thin silk nightgown. "What do you want from me? Dante? You won't fight for me. You won't tell my father the truth. You won't give me any hope that we have a future. So yes, I'm going to Tuscany. I'm going to try to make this work with Luca, because at least he wants me openly. At least he's not ashamed of what he feels. Ashamed? He was on his feet in an instant, crossing to me. You think I'm ashamed of loving you? Aren't you? You hide it. You deny it. You act like what we feel for each other is some dirty secret that needs to be buried. Because in our world, it is. His hands gripped my shoulders. Aurora, if anyone found out, if your father discovered that I've been touching you, kissing you, wanting you the way I do, it wouldn't just destroy me. It would destroy you too. Your reputation, your standing in the family, everything. I don't care about any of that. Well, I do. I care about protecting you, even from myself. His thumb traced my collarbone, the touch achingly gentle despite the turmoil in his eyes. That's what love is, Piccola. It's wanting the best for someone even when it kills you. The best for me is you, I whispered. It's always been you. He closed his eyes, jaw clenching. You're 19. You don't know what you want. Don't you dare patronize me. I shoved at his chest. I've known what I wanted since I was old enough to understand what love meant. And it's you, Dante. It's always been you. Aurora. No. You don't get to keep doing this. You don't get to tell me you love me and then push me away in the same breath. You don't get to act like what we have isn't real just because it's inconvenient. Tears were streaming down my face now. Either fight for me or let me go, but stop torturing us both. I can't let you go. The admission was torn from somewhere deep inside him. I've tried. God knows I've tried. But the thought of Luca touching you, kissing you, making you his hands tightened on my shoulders. It's killing me, Aurora. Literally killing me. Then do something about it, I pleaded. Come with me to Tuscany. Tell Luca the truth. Tell my father. Anything. Just don't let me leave here belonging to him. I can't. But his forehead dropped to mine, his breath ragged. The family needs this alliance. Your father needs this alliance. I can't put my own desires above the safety of everyone we're sworn to protect. So, you'll sacrifice me instead. I'll sacrifice myself. His voice broke. I'll watch you marry him and smile and pretend it doesn't destroy me. I'll stand by your father's side at your wedding and give you away to another man. I'll live the rest of my life knowing I was too much of a coward to fight for what I wanted most. Dante? But I won't let him have all of you. His hand slid down to my waist, pulling me against him. These next 3 days, you're mine. Completely mine. And when you go to Tuscany, when he tries to claim you, I want you to remember this. Remember who you really belong to. Then he was kissing me, and this kiss was different from all the others. This was desperation and possession and grief all tangled together. His hands were everywhere, threading through my hair, spanning my waist, sliding down to grip my hips and pull me harder against him. Tell me to stop, he demanded against my lips. Tell me this is wrong. Never, I gasped, my hands fisting in his shirt. I'll never tell you to stop. He groaned, a sound of surrender and need, and suddenly we were moving. He backed me toward the bed, and when the backs of my knees hit the mattress, I fell, pulling him down with me. Aurora. My name was a prayer and a curse on his lips. If we do this, there's no going back. You understand that? I don't want to go back. I only want you. Something in him broke then. Some last wall of resistance crumbled, and he was claiming me with hands and mouth and desperate whispered words in Italian that I couldn't quite catch but understood on a visceral level. Mine. You're mine. Always mine. Then prove it, I challenged, arching into his touch. Stop being noble and just take what's yours. His eyes, when they met mine, were black with desire. You have no idea what you're asking for. Then show me. What happened next was a blur of sensation. His weight pressing me into the mattress, his hands learning every curve and hollow of my body, his mouth marking me in places only he would see. He was both impossibly gentle and desperately rough, worshipping me even as he claimed me. And when he finally made me his in every way that mattered, when he buried himself inside me with a groan that sounded like my name and a prayer mixed together, I understood what it meant to belong to someone completely. This wasn't just sex. This was a claiming, a binding, a promise that no church ceremony or legal document could ever match. Afterward, we lay tangled together in my bed, his hand tracing lazy patterns on my bare shoulder, both of us trying to catch our breath. "I should regret this," he said quietly. "I should feel guilty, but you don't." "No." His arm tightened around me. "I don't. Is that wrong?" "Nothing about this feels wrong to me." I turned in his arms to face him. "Dante, I meant what I said. I'm yours. Completely. And I don't care what that means for Luca or my father or the family alliance. I'm yours. Aurora, we can't. I'm not going to Tuscany." He went still. "What?" "I'm not going. I'll cancel the trip. Tell Luca I'm not feeling well or that something came up. I don't care. But I'm not spending a week alone with him. Not now. Not after this." "You have to go." I pulled back to look at him. "What?" "If you cancel now, it'll raise suspicions. Luca will ask questions. Your father will wonder why." His jaw clenched. "You have to go. You have to maintain appearances." "Are you insane? We just... I gestured at our tangled bodies, at the evidence of what we'd done. "And you still want me to go spend a week with him?" "What I want and what has to happen are two different things." He sat up, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "Aurora, nothing has changed. This," he gestured between us, "this doesn't change the political realities, doesn't change what your father expects, doesn't change the fact that you're engaged to Luca Montero. Then what was the point?" Anger and hurt warred inside me. "Why make me yours if you're just going to give me away? Because I'm selfish." He looked at me, and I saw genuine anguish in his eyes. "Because I couldn't stand the thought of him being your first. Because I needed you to know, to remember who you really belong to." "That's twisted, Dante." "I know." He reached for his discarded shirt. "I know it's wrong and twisted and probably makes me a monster. But I don't care. At least now, when Luca touches you, you'll remember this. Remember me." I watched him dress, feeling something break inside my chest. "So that's it? You got what you wanted, and now you're just going to walk away?" "What I wanted?" He laughed bitterly. "Aurora, what I want is to keep you in this bed for the rest of our lives, to tell the world you're mine and dare anyone to try to take you from me, to marry you myself and spend every day proving that you belong with me. Then do it. I can't." He was fully dressed now, looking at me with such longing it hurt. "I wish I could, but I can't. So yes, you're going to Tuscany. You're going to smile and be charming and play the role of Luca's future wife. And when you come back, we'll figure out what comes next." "What comes next is me marrying him in 3 months," I pointed out bitterly. "Unless you're planning to stop it." "I don't know." He moved to the door, then paused, looking back at me. "All I know is that I love you. And that's going to have to be enough for now." Then he was gone, leaving me alone in my rumpled bed, marked and claimed and more confused than ever. 2 days later, I boarded a private plane to Tuscany with Luca Montero, his sister Isabella as chaperone, and a heart that felt like it was being torn in two. Dante didn't come to see me off, didn't text, didn't call. But when I got to my room and unpacked my suitcase, I found one of his shirts tucked between my clothes, the one he'd been wearing that night in my bedroom. It still smelled like him, like his cologne and something uniquely Dante. I buried my face in it and cried. Tuscany was beautiful. The villa sat on a hillside overlooking vineyards that stretched as far as the eye could see. The weather was perfect. Warm days and cool nights. The kind of idyllic Italian summer that romance novels were written about. And I was miserable. Luca was the perfect host. Attentive without being overbearing, he showed me around the property, took me to charming local restaurants, introduced me to his extended family. His sister Isabella was warm and welcoming, treating me like a friend rather than an obligation. I should have been happy. Should have been falling for this kind, handsome man who was trying so hard to make me love him. Instead, I spent every night clutching Dante's shirt and staring at my phone, waiting for a message that never came. It was the third day when things came to a head. We'd spent the afternoon touring local vineyards, and Luca had been particularly charming, making me laugh with stories about his childhood, his eyes warm every time they landed on me. As the sun set, we found ourselves alone on the villa's terrace, Isabella having retired early with a headache. "I'm glad you came," Luca said, handing me a glass of wine. "I was worried you'd cancel." "Why would I cancel?" I asked, though guilt twisted in my stomach. "You've seemed distant lately." He studied me over the rim of his glass. "Like there's something on your mind. Someone on your mind." My blood ran cold. "I don't know what you mean." "Don't you?" He set down his glass, turning to face me fully. "Aurora, I'm not blind. I see the way you look at your phone, waiting for messages that never come. I see how you flinch when I touch you, like you're thinking of someone else's hands. I see..." He paused. "I see that you're in love with someone else." I opened my mouth to deny it, but the words wouldn't come. What was the point? He was right. "I'm sorry," I whispered instead. "Don't be sorry. Just tell me the truth." His voice was gentle, not angry. "Is it Dante?" The question hit like a physical blow. "How did you..." "I have eyes, Aurora, and I'm not stupid." He sighed. "The way he looks at you. The way you look at him when you think no one's watching. The tension between you two at the engagement party." He laughed softly. "I actually feel sorry for the poor bastard." "Luca, does he know that you're in love with him?" "Yes, but it doesn't matter. He won't..." My voice broke. "He won't fight for me. He thinks he owes too much to my father, that being with me would be a betrayal. So he's letting you marry me instead." Luca shook his head. "That's either incredibly noble or incredibly stupid. I can't decide which." "Both," I admitted. "Definitely both." We stood in silence for a moment, the Tuscan sunset painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. "I could make you happy," Luca said finally. "Maybe not the way he could, but I'd try. I'd spend every day trying to earn your love." "I know you would, and you deserve someone who can give you that. Someone who isn't in love with someone else." "But that's not you." "No, I'm sorry, but it's not." He nodded slowly, like he'd expected this answer. "What do you want to do?" "I don't know. The alliance. Our families need this marriage. Our families will survive." He took my hand, and there was real kindness in his eyes. "Aurora, I won't marry a woman who's in love with another man. It wouldn't be fair to either of us. So here's what we're going to do." "What?" "We're going to give him one more chance. When we get back, you're going to tell Dante exactly what you told me. That you love him. That you want him. That you're willing to face whatever consequences come from being together." He squeezed my hand. "And if he still won't fight for you, if he still chooses duty over love, then we'll move forward with the marriage. But at least you'll know you tried." Tears spilled down my cheeks. "Why are you being so kind about this?" "Because I've seen the way you look at him, and I've seen the way he looks at you when he thinks no one's watching." His smile was sad. "That kind of love doesn't come around often, Aurora. It would be a crime not to at least try to fight for it." I threw my arms around him, hugging him tight. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, he said wryly. If Dante doesn't pull his head out of his ass, you're still stuck marrying me. Despite everything, I laughed. We cut the trip short, returning to the estate 3 days early. Isabella covered for us, telling everyone I'd gotten sick, and Luca had been the perfect gentleman, bringing me home early to recover. The truth was simpler. I was done waiting, done being patient, done letting Dante make decisions for both of us. I was going to force his hand, one way or another. I found him in his office, reviewing documents, looking haggard and exhausted. He glanced up when I entered, and I saw a flash of something. Relief? Joy. Cross his face before his expression shuddered. You're back early, he said carefully. Is everything all right? No, everything is not all right. I closed the door behind me and locked it. We need to talk. Aurora, if this is about what happened before you left, it's about everything. I moved to stand in front of his desk. It's about the fact that I spent a week in paradise with a good, kind man who wants to marry me, and all I could think about was you. It's about the fact that Luca knows I'm in love with someone else and offered to step aside. It's about the fact that I'm done waiting for you to decide what you want. He stood slowly. What are you saying? I'm saying I love you, Dante Ferraro. I'm saying I want you. I'm saying I don't care about the consequences or my father's approval or the family alliance. I'm saying I'm yours, completely and totally, and I need to know if you're mine. You know I am. Then prove it. I slammed my hands on his desk. Stop hiding. Stop making excuses. Stop choosing duty over love. Stand up and fight for me, damn it. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. It's exactly that simple. Either you love me enough to fight for me, or you don't. Either I'm worth the risk or I'm not. Either we do this together, or I walk out that door and marry Luca Montero, and you spend the rest of your life wondering what could have been. He stared at me, something wild and desperate rising in his eyes. You're asking me to betray everything I believe in, everyone who's ever trusted me. I'm asking you to choose love over fear, to choose us over what everyone else expects, to choose me. The silence stretched between us, heavy and loaded. Then he moved, circling the desk with predatory grace. You want me to fight for you? His voice was low, dangerous. You want me to stop being noble? Yes. You want me to claim you? Publicly? Damn the consequences? Yes. He was in front of me now, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from his body. You have no idea what you're asking for, Piccola. No idea what it will cost. Then show me. His control snapped. He kissed me like he was drowning and I was air, his hands fisting in my hair, pulling me against him with bruising force. And I kissed him back just as desperately, pouring everything I felt into it. All my love and longing and desperate hope. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard. All right, he said, his voice rough. All right, you win. I can't do this anymore. Can't watch you marry someone else. Can't pretend I don't love you more than my own life. Dante. But we do this my way. I tell your father myself. I face the consequences. And whatever happens, you stay out of it. Understood? No. We face this together. Aurora. Together, I insisted. Or not at all. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he smiled, and it was fierce and possessive and absolutely devastating. Together then. God help us both. Don Enzo Moretti was in his study when we requested an audience. It was evening, the golden hour light streaming through the windows, casting long shadows across the room where I'd received so many life-changing announcements. Tonight would be no different. Dante's hand was a reassuring pressure at the small of my back as we entered. My father looked up from the documents he'd been reviewing, surprise flickering across his face when he saw us together. Aurora. Dante. This is unexpected. He gestured to the chairs across from his desk. Please, sit. We'd prefer to stand, Dante said, his voice steady despite the tension I could feel radiating from his body. My father's eyes narrowed slightly. He'd been in this world long enough to recognize the signs of an uncomfortable conversation about to happen. Very well. What's this about? I opened my mouth to speak, but Dante squeezed my waist gently, a silent request to let him lead. I nodded, stepping slightly closer to his side. Don Enzo, Dante began, and I heard the formality in his voice, the careful respect. I need to tell you something that will likely make you want to kill me. But before I do, I want you to know that I understand the magnitude of what I'm about to confess. I understand that it's a betrayal of your trust, and I understand that there will be consequences. My father leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. I'm listening. I'm in love with your daughter. The words hung in the air like a bomb with the pin pulled. I watched my father's face, searching for any reaction, rage, disgust, surprise. But his expression remained carefully neutral. I see, he said finally. And how long has this been going on? The feelings? Dante's jaw clenched. Years. Acting on them? Only recently. But that's irrelevant. What matters is that I love Aurora. I've tried to fight it, tried to do the right thing, tried to step aside and let her marry Luca as you arranged. But I can't. I won't. You won't, my father repeated, his voice dangerously soft. No, sir. I won't stand by and watch her marry another man, not when she belongs with me. I belong with him, Papa, I added, finding my voice. I love him. I've loved him for as long as I can remember, and I won't marry Luca. I can't. Don Enzo was silent for a long moment, his gaze moving between us. Then he stood, moving to the window, his back to us. Do you have any idea what you're asking? He said quietly. The alliance with the Monteros was crucial. Without it, we're vulnerable to the Castellanos. They've been circling like sharks, waiting for any sign of weakness. I know, Dante said, and I know that by pursuing this, I'm putting the family at risk, but I also know that I can find another way to secure our position. Another alliance. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right, but I won't give her up. You won't give her up, my father repeated. The girl I entrusted to your care. The daughter I expected you to protect as a brother would. I've protected her, Dante said fiercely. I've kept her safe, kept her out of harm's way, would die before letting anything happen to her. That hasn't changed. Will never change. The only thing that's changed is that I can't pretend anymore that what I feel for her is brotherly. Because it never was. My father turned back to face us, and I was shocked to see not rage in his eyes, but something almost like resignation. Was it, Dante? Dante went very still. Sir? I'm not blind. I've seen the way you look at her, the way you've always looked at her, even when she was too young for it to mean anything. The possessiveness, the jealousy when other boys showed interest. He moved back to his desk, sinking into his chair. I told myself I was imagining it, that you saw her as a sister, that the protectiveness was familial. Papa, I started, but he held up a hand. But deep down, I think I always knew. I just chose not to acknowledge it because acknowledging it would mean facing this exact situation. He looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw sadness in his eyes. You're in love with him too. Yes, I said simply. I'm sorry if that disappoints you, but yes, I love him. Does Luca know? I nodded. He figured it out in Tuscany. He's the one who told me to come home early, to give Dante one more chance to fight for me. That was generous of him. My father rubbed his temples. This is a mess, a complete mess. I know, Dante said, and I take full responsibility. If you want me to leave, If you want to cut ties with me completely, I understand, but I'm not leaving without Aurora. You think I'd let you take my daughter and just walk away? My father's voice hardened. You think it's that simple? No, sir. I think it's incredibly complicated. But I also think Aurora and I love each other enough to figure it out. Love. Don Enzo laughed bitterly. Love is a luxury in our world, Dante. You know that. We marry for alliances, for power, for strategy, not for love. You loved Mama, I said softly. Everyone knows you did. My father's expression softened. Yes, I loved your mother, more than life itself. And when I lost her... He broke off, clearing his throat. I never wanted that kind of love for you, Aurora. It's too painful when it's gone. But it's worth it, I insisted, moving closer to his desk. Isn't it? Those years you had with her, even knowing how it would end, weren't they worth it? He was silent for a long moment. Then he sighed, suddenly looking much older than his years. The Monteros won't be happy about this. Luca might be understanding, but his father will see it as an insult, a betrayal. I'll handle Marco Montero, Dante said. I'll make sure he understands this isn't a slight against his family. And the Castellanos. Without the Montero alliance, we're exposed. We'll strengthen our other alliances. Reach out to the Russos, the Costellos. I'll make it work, Don Enzo. I swear to you, I'll make it work. My father looked at him for a long moment. Then slowly, he nodded. You love her enough to risk everything. To potentially start a war. To betray everything I've taught you about duty and loyalty to the family. With respect, sir, I'm not betraying the family. Aurora is family. She's my family. And protecting her, making her happy, that is my duty. And if I say no, if I order you to step aside, let her marry Luca? Dante's jaw clenched. Then I'd have to disobey you for the first time in 20 years. I'd hate myself for it. I'd spend the rest of my life trying to make it up to you. But I'd do it, because losing Aurora isn't an option. I held my breath, waiting for my father's response. This was it, the moment that would determine our entire future. Don Enzo stood, moving around his desk to stand in front of us. He looked at Dante, then at me, then back at Dante. You take care of my daughter, he said quietly. You protect her with your life. You make her happy. You give her the kind of love her mother and I had. And if you ever hurt her, I will kill you myself. Slowly, painfully, in ways that will make you beg for death. Are we clear? It took me a moment to process what he just said. He was giving his blessing? Crystal clear, sir, Dante replied, and I heard the relief in his voice. Papa, I whispered, You're okay with this? Okay with it? No, he cupped my face in his hands. You're my little girl, Aurora. I'm not okay with any man taking you away from me, even one I trust as much as Dante. But I also know that you're stubborn like your mother, and that if I tried to keep you apart, you'd only fight harder. Tears spilled down my cheeks. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This is going to cause problems. The Monteros will be offended. Other families will question the decision. And Dante, he turned to him, you're going to have to work twice as hard to prove that this wasn't just you taking advantage of your position. That this is real. It's real, Dante said, pulling me against his side. I've never been more certain of anything in my life. Then you have my blessing. But Dante? The wedding happens within the month. I won't have gossip about my daughter living in sin. Understood, sir. My father moved toward his desk, but paused, looking back at us. One more thing. If I ever find out you were intimate with her before this conversation, before getting my blessing, I might reconsider my position on letting you live. Dante and I exchanged a glance. I saw the corner of his mouth twitch. "Of course not, sir," Dante said smoothly. "I would never disrespect Aurora or your household that way." My father didn't look convinced, but he didn't press. "Get out of my office. I need to call Marco Montero and try to explain why his son's engagement is being terminated." And the moment we were in the hallway, out of my father's earshot, I turned to Dante. "We're getting married. Apparently so." He looked slightly dazed. "In less than a month." "Are you scared?" "Terrified," he admitted. Then he smiled, and it was the first genuine, unguarded smile I'd seen from him in weeks, but also happier than I've ever been. I launched myself at him, and he caught me easily, spinning me around as I laughed. When he set me down, his hands cupped my face, his expression growing serious. "I love you, Aurora Moretti. I've loved you for longer than I should admit, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret choosing me." "I could never regret you," I whispered back. "You're everything I've ever wanted." He kissed me then, soft and sweet, a promise of forever. In the next few weeks were chaos. News of my broken engagement to Luca spread through our world like wildfire. Some families were scandalized. Others were amused. The Monteros, to their credit, handled it with grace. Luca sent me a bottle of champagne with a note that read, "Congratulations on finally getting what you wanted. Make him grovel." The Castellanos, sensing an opportunity, immediately began testing our territories, looking for weaknesses. But Dante had been true to his word. He worked around the clock, reaching out to other families, strengthening alliances, shoring up our defenses. The Russos threw their support behind us immediately. Antonio Russo, it turned out, had suspected our feelings for each other for years. "About time you two stopped dancing around it," he'd said with a laugh. My wedding to Dante was planned with the same precision that went into planning a military operation. Small and intimate by our world standards. Only 200 guests instead of 500. The ceremony would be at the same church where my parents had married, with Father Michael officiating. Maria helped me choose a dress, crying the entire time. "Your mother would have loved this," she kept saying. "She always knew you and Dante were meant for each other." "She did?" "She told me once, when you were just a baby. That boy will love my daughter someday. I can see it in the way he looks at her." I thought she was crazy. Maria laughed through her tears. Turns out she was right. The night before the wedding, Dante and I stood on the terrace where we'd shared our first kiss, looking out over the grounds. "No regrets?" he asked, his arm around my waist. "Not a single one." I leaned into him. "You?" "Only that we wasted so much time fighting this." "We had to fight it," I pointed out. "Otherwise, we wouldn't appreciate it as much now." "Philosophical. I like it." He pressed a kiss to my temple. "Though I have to say, I'm going to enjoy not having to hide anymore. Being able to touch you whenever I want, kiss you whenever I want, tell the entire world that you're mine. Possessive. I like it." I smiled up at him. "Though you know my father will still probably try to kill you if you hurt me. As he should. As I would, if anyone ever hurt you." His expression grew serious. "Aurora, I need you to understand something. This world we live in, it's dangerous. There will always be threats. Always be people looking to use you to get to me, or to your father. I can't promise you a safe life. I don't want a safe life. I want you. Even knowing what that means? The violence, the danger, the moral compromises? I've lived in this world my whole life, Dante. I know what it is. And yes, even knowing all that, I choose you. I choose us." He pulled me closer, and we stood there in comfortable silence, watching the stars appear one by one in the darkening sky. "Tomorrow," he said softly, "tomorrow you become Aurora Ferraro." "Aurora Ferraro," I repeated, testing the name. I like the sound of that. "So do I, Piccola. So do I." The morning of my wedding dawned clear and beautiful, the kind of perfect autumn day that seemed designed for new beginnings. I woke early, too excited to sleep, and found Maria already bustling around my room, preparing everything. "The dress arrived," she announced, gesturing to where it hung by the window. "And Dante sent this." She handed me a small velvet box. Inside was a delicate diamond bracelet, clearly an antique, with a note in Dante's familiar handwriting. "This belonged to my mother. She would have wanted you to have it. See you at the altar, Piccola." I held the bracelet, tears pricking my eyes. Dante rarely spoke about his biological family, the one he'd lost so violently. For him to give me something of his mother's, it meant everything. "He's a good man," Maria said softly. "Your mother knew it. I know it. And soon, the whole world will know it." The next few hours passed in a blur of hair and makeup and endless photographs. My dress was a masterpiece. Ivory silk with delicate lace sleeves, fitted through the bodice and flowing into a full skirt. Simple but elegant, classic but modern. I looked like a bride. Dante's bride. "Ready?" my father asked, appearing in the doorway in his tuxedo. He stopped when he saw me, and I watched emotions play across his face. Pride, sadness, love. "You look just like your mother on our wedding day," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "Papa, I'm happy for you, Aurora, truly. Dante loves you the way every father hopes his daughter will be loved." He offered his arm. "Shall we?" The church was packed when we arrived. I saw familiar faces from every major family in the city. The Russos, the Costellos, even some Monteros, though notably not Luca's father. But Luca himself was there, sitting with his sister Isabella, both of them smiling genuinely. But I only had eyes for the man waiting for me at the altar. Dante stood beside Father Michael, looking devastating in a black tuxedo, his dark hair swept back, his gray eyes locked on me from the moment I appeared in the doorway. I watched his breath catch, saw his hands clench at his sides as though he was fighting the urge to come to me. The walk down that aisle was the longest and shortest of my life. Every step brought me closer to him, to forever, to the future we'd fought so hard for. When my father placed my hand in Dante's, I felt the tremor in his fingers, saw the emotion swimming in his eyes. "Take care of her," Don Enzo said quietly, "or I'll kill you." "I will, sir. On my life, I will." Then my father stepped back, and it was just Dante and me and Father Michael, and the most important promise we'd ever make. "Dearly beloved," Father Michael began, and I barely heard the traditional words. I was too focused on Dante, on the way he looked at me like I was his entire world. When it came time for the vows, Dante surprised me by pulling out a folded piece of paper. "I wrote something," he explained, his voice carrying clearly through the hushed church. "If that's okay." "Of course," I whispered. He cleared his throat, and when he spoke, every word was weighted with emotion. "Aurora, for 13 years, I told myself I was your protector, your brother, your guard. And in many ways, I was all those things. But what I refused to admit, what I fought against with everything I had, was that you were so much more to me. You were my light in the darkness, my reason for being better, my home." Tears were streaming down my face now, and I saw similar emotion shining in his eyes. I've made many mistakes in my life. Hurt people, done things I'm not proud of. But loving you will never be one of those mistakes. You are the best thing that has ever happened to me, Aurora Moretti. And I promise to spend every day of the rest of my life proving that I deserve the honor of being your husband. His hands shook as he slid the wedding band onto my finger. Platinum, engraved with Italian words I'd have to ask him to translate later. When it was my turn, I didn't have prepared words, but I spoke from my heart. "Dante, You've been my constant since I was 6 years old. My protector, my friend, my love. You taught me what it means to be strong, to fight for what I want, to never settle for anything less than real, consuming, impossible love. I smiled through my tears. I'm so glad I never settled. Because this, you and me, this is worth every fight, every obstacle, every moment of doubt. I love you, Dante Ferraro, and I always will. I slid his ring on, my hand steadier than I felt. By the power vested in me, Father Michael said, smiling, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Dante, you may kiss your bride. Dante didn't need to be told twice. He cupped my face in his hands and kissed me like we were the only two people in the world. The church erupted in applause, but I barely heard it over the pounding of my heart. When we finally broke apart, he rested his forehead against mine. Mine, he whispered. Finally, completely mine. Yours, I agreed. Always yours. The reception was held at the estate, in the grand ballroom that had been transformed with thousands of white roses and candles. It was beautiful and elegant and perfect. But the best part was the freedom, the ability to touch Dante whenever I wanted, to have his arm around my waist, to kiss him without hiding, to be publicly, undeniably his. May I have this dance, Mrs. Ferraro? He asked during our first dance, that new name sending a thrill through me. Always, Mr. Ferraro. As we swayed together, his hand warm against the small of my back, I caught sight of my father watching us from across the room. He raised his glass in a subtle toast, and I saw approval in his eyes. Happy? Dante murmured against my ear. Happier than I ever thought possible. Good, because I plan to spend the rest of our lives making you even happier. He pulled back to look at me. I know I don't say it enough, but thank you. For what? For fighting for us. For not giving up when I was too stubborn to admit what I felt. For loving me despite all my flaws and complications. His thumb traced my cheekbone. For choosing me. I'll always choose you, I promised. In every life, every timeline, every possible future. It's always been you, Dante. It always will be. He kissed me again, and I heard good-natured catcalls from our guests. But I didn't care. Let them watch. Let them see how much we loved each other. Later, as we cut the cake and toasted with champagne and danced with various family members, I caught Luca's eye across the room. He raised his glass to me with a genuine smile, and I mouthed, "Thank you." He nodded, understanding. Without his generosity, his willingness to step aside, none of this would have been possible. As the evening wound down and guests began to leave, Dante pulled me aside. "Ready to get out of here?" he asked, his eyes dark with promise. "Where are we going?" "I have a surprise for you." He took my hand. "Trust me?" "Always." He led me out to where a car was waiting. Not one of the family's usual vehicles, but a sleek sports car I'd never seen before. "Wedding gift," he explained, opening the passenger door for me. "From me to us." As we drove through the city streets, leaving the estate behind, I felt like I was shedding an old skin. Aurora Moretti, dutiful daughter, was gone. In her place was Aurora Ferraro, wife to the man she loved. "Where are we really going?" I asked as we left the city limits. "You'll see." An hour later, we pulled up to a beautiful house on the coast, not as large as the estate, but perfect. Modern and elegant, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the ocean. "What is this?" "Our home," Dante said simply. "I bought it 6 months ago, back when I was still trying to convince myself that watching you marry Luca was the right thing to do. I thought maybe having a place that was just mine, away from the estate and all the memories, would help. But the entire time I was furnishing it, choosing colors and furniture, all I could think about was you. What you'd like, where you'd want to read, which room would be the nursery someday." He looked almost embarrassed. I was decorating a home for a future I thought I couldn't have. I cupped his face, pulling him down for a kiss. "Show me our home, Dante." He did, walking me through each room, pointing out features he'd chosen specifically for me. A library with built-in shelves, a sunroom that got perfect morning light, a master bedroom with that ocean view. "It's perfect," I breathed. "Absolutely perfect." "Not yet." He pulled me toward the bedroom. "But it will be." What followed was tender and passionate and everything I'd ever dreamed of. Not the desperate claiming of that first time, but a celebration. A claiming of a different sort. Him learning my body as his wife. Me learning his as my husband. Afterward, we lay tangled in the sheets, watching moonlight dance across the waves. "No regrets?" he asked, echoing the question from the night before. "Not a single one." I turned to look at him. "You?" "Only that we wasted so much time fighting this. Think of all the moments we could have had." "We have a lifetime of moments ahead of us," I pointed out. "Starting now." "Starting now," he agreed, pulling me closer. "Mrs. Ferraro." "I like the sound of that." "So do I, Piccola. So do I." Epilogue. 1 year later, I stood in the nursery, watching Dante cradle our daughter in his arms. Sofia Elena Ferraro had arrived 3 weeks ago, and already had her father wrapped around her tiny finger. "She has your eyes," he murmured, transfixed by the infant in his arms. "And your stubborn chin," I countered, moving to stand beside him. He looked up at me, and the love in his eyes was almost overwhelming. "Thank you." "For what?" "For her. For this life. For fighting for us when I was too afraid to." He shifted Sophia gently. "I almost threw all of this away because I thought duty was more important than love. I was such an idiot." "Yes, you were," I agreed, smiling. "But you figured it out eventually. Only because you wouldn't let me give up." He pressed a kiss to Sophia's forehead. "You're going to be just like your mother, aren't you? Strong and brave and absolutely terrifying." Sophia yawned, completely unimpressed by her father's assessment. A soft knock at the door revealed my father, still uncomfortable with the grandfather role but trying. "May I?" he asked, gesturing to Sophia. Dante handed her over carefully, and I watched my father's expression soften as he held his granddaughter. "She looks like Aurora did at this age," he said quietly. "Same eyes, same little nose. Let's hope she doesn't inherit Aurora's talent for getting into trouble," Dante said wryly. "Or yours for overprotective jealousy," I countered. "That's not going away," Dante warned, slipping his arm around my waist. "If anything, now I have 2 women to be overprotective of." "God help any boy who tries to date her," my father muttered. "There will be no dating," Dante said firmly. "She's joining a convent at age 12. I laughed, leaning into my husband. "You're ridiculous." "I'm a father," he corrected. "It comes with the territory." As I watched Dante and my father argue good-naturedly about Sophia's future while she slept peacefully in Don Enzo's arms, I felt overwhelmed with gratitude. This life, this family, this love, it had been worth every fight, every obstacle, every moment of doubt. Dante caught my eye and smiled. That special smile he reserved only for me. And in that moment, I knew he was thinking the same thing. We'd fought for this. For each other. For the family we'd created together. And we'd won.